Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 now of the Kickback. You're with me, AlehStair. As always, if you do enjoy what we're putting out, leave a like, give us a comment, and hopefully a subscribe as well. And now, without any further ado, in the guest seat today, we have the one, the only, Bust the Net. Daljit, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me onto the show.
No,
How
no.
are you doing, Ali?
Thanks for coming on. I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. So, like, for people who are obviously watching, for those who don't know, Bustanet is based in Singapore. There's a massive time difference. He's getting up in the morning. As soon as we're recording here, I'm going straight to bed. So we'll get right into it. So, obviously, Daljit Bustanet again. Thank you very much for coming on. The way we sort of start the conversation generally is by asking just a general football question, because obviously that's what's bringing us here today in terms of the root form. So what was the sort of moment you became engaged with football itself? Was there anything that particularly springs to mind that you saw and you were like, yeah, this is the sport that I'm gonna follow and persevere with?
No, there wasn't anything in particular because I grew up in a family where the moment we are like 2 or 3 years old, we start playing subutio, and then we could do kickabouts.
Mm.
So that's where it all started, and we watch football games together at home. My grandfather, me, my father, my uncles, and all. And then in school, I played football as well. So I've grown up around football my entire life.
Okay, so
Yeah.
sort of in the family. So obviously, was there a team in particular that your family was supporting and made you support?
Oh yeah, yeah. If we don't support Liverpool, we'll be disowned. Like
Oh, see, I'm the
yeah.
same, but with Manchester United. I was Manchester United, or you're not living in my house. For me though, it's a bit different because I took the interest of football obviously a bit later, but I remember like because my dad came to England when he was 6 years old, and
Mhm.
in the 70s it was a scary place for somebody who didn't speak English, and football was the way he sort of went to fit in. So he
Mhm.
saw that there was a lot of lads in his class who were all Manchester United fans. So he became a Manchester United fan in order to not be as estranged because he didn't know the language and stuff. So that's how it started for him. So it's always interesting to hear that sort of reasons for the support and that sort of thing. But like you say, obviously you were playing when you were younger. Was there any position that you particularly played in that you excelled in?
I I started out as a right back and then became a winger. And then as I got older, I became a striker.
Hmm.
And then once I became too old to run, they just asked me to stay in the box and not move.
So you're literally like Jermaine Defoe poaching.
Yeah, I mean, last couple of years when I was playing, I used to play with ESPN. And in Singapore, we have these business games, and I think I started out as a winger, and then towards the latter half, when people realized, okay, all right, okay, you're not going to run back and help us defend, are you? And nope, not today. So
Nah,
I would just stay around the box. Yeah.
bullies don't lie. So what level did you get to in terms of playing football?
I don't know, just it's just casual, friendly business leagues and stuff like that. Yeah, no, there is. I mean, I got sent off by referees in competitive matches because you never shout obscenities when the referee is a priest.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we had these inter business leagues, right? So we'd play against companies, inter companies. That's about it. And when I went to university, when I was in university, I didn't play football. I played rugby.
Okay.
I was a rugby player. Yeah.
Rugby or football? Which one are we going for?
Uh, well, rugby because I can take out my frustrations on people. Otherwise, I get sent off in football, right? So,
No, I just absolutely just body slammed someone on the pitch. So I've
yeah.
always so the thing is obviously obviously do my research about you, learning that obviously you're in Singapore. I've always been curious as to well since finding that out, what is the football scene like in Singapore, because they're not prominent in world football. I've never seen Singapore play. They've never been in a World Cup as far as I'm aware. What's the scene like there? Is it a busting scene that just doesn't have as much maybe investment at a lower level in order to produce talent, or is it just were you lucky to be part of a family that had an influence on it?
I think in the 70s and the 80s, the football scene was a lot more active in Singapore, right? I
Mm.
mean, back then we had footballers who ended up playing for teams like FC Groningen.
Mm.
We had in Malaysia, we had a legendary striker called Mokhtar Dahari, who is currently third on the list of all-time international goal scorers, right, in the world.
Mm.
So, and we had Fandi Ahmad, who played alongside what's his name, Marco and Baston. I think he played alongside or played against him, and we had that great period of time where football was really something that you could sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, I mean, Singapore, it's more about getting an education, getting a job, and the league itself, well, it's basically gone south. I mean, that's the best way I can put it, right? There's little investment, and we've only recently had a privately owned football club in Singapore called Lion City Sailors. They are trying to be like Johor Darul Takzim in Johor, who happen to be one of the best teams in Malaysia and probably Southeast Asia. So there's a long way to go yet. I mean, Singapore clubs don't even own their own football stadiums. So you can imagine the financial constraints they're under. So basically, there is little to no chance of Singapore making it on the map of even regional football dominance in Asia at any time within my lifetime.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that to a degree as well, being from that sort of, because my dad's from Pakistan, obviously. Being from that background, it's a very similar scenario there with everything. And, you have the odd one or two people who are good enough to break the boundary when it comes to things like cricket. But you just don't get it with football, the football quality. I think the biggest Pakistani player that comes to mind is Otis Khan, and I don't think he was born in Pakistan. I think he was born in England, but has that through his parents. So now that's quite interesting. So obviously you had that big football background growing up. What was the sort of catalyst that introduced you to Football Manager, or Championship Manager, whichever level it did?
Well, I was back then. I think I was in ESPN when the first version of Football Manager came out, and one of my friends, he lived in Malaysia. I lived in Singapore, and he told me about this game, right? So then I decided to go down to KL to visit him, which is basically back then it was a 6-hour bus ride.
Oh, yeah.
So I jumped on a bus, went to his place, and I didn't come back for a week because I was in his house playing Football Manager. Back then it's called Championship Manager, right? Yeah. So I stayed in his house for 6 days, smashed his monitor once because I lost the game. And had to buy him the monitor again. I did not leave the room over the weekend. So his family got pretty concerned by this madman who had just shown up at the front door and parked himself inside the bedroom and would refuse to come out. So yeah, that was my introduction to Football Manager, or rather Championship Manager.
Love at first sight then.
It was a great moment though. I love the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So then obviously,
what about you?
I'm new. I was FM17 was my first Football Manager. I was at university at the time.
You're a baby.
I'm 23. I'm still young.
Oh my word! You are a baby.
I go, man. I think at the time I must have been 18, maybe 19. And I was talking to one of my friends, Thermal, for everyone who knows, he's part of the Wasted Possession crew, and he was asked me if I'd ever played it, and I think it was towards the end of the game cycle, so it's like £15 on Steam. So I just downloaded it. I remember distinctly I started at Stoke City. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent in the UK. And in my first game I beat Liverpool 6-1, so I was like, this game's easy, and then I went on an 11-game losing streak and got fired straight away. So then obviously I was like, I don't understand how this works, and then obviously through the perseverance of it, I managed to get myself through it, and then obviously entered the streaming world during COVID, like a lot of people that are currently in the community did. But obviously you've been in the community for quite a while, in terms of when you look at the other content creators that are doing Football Manager content. I think you were probably one of the earliest forms of that, if I'm not mistaken. What was it that pushed you to create the content, especially at a time when the content wasn't really prevalent? Sort of what around about what year did you start creating the FM content?
Well, I became a member on the SI forums in 1980 something, right? So that's how long I've been on the forums. I've had two identities on the forum. So I lost my first identity in the 80s, and then there was a new identity they created for me, which is one of the reasons why my name had originally had Rashidi1. The first guy was me, Rashidi. And that was back in the 90s. I can't even remember the year now. But it was with the very first edition of the game. Back then, I don't think we had a very active forums. So that's where I actually started the forums. I started doing written content. Initially when I joined the forums, it was more like, why the hell can't I play this game? That kind of thing. Like, help me out here. So, didn't take me long. After that, the game became quite straightforward, and I started writing guides. And SI asked me whether I would like to help out with the training and tactics forums as a moderator. And back in those days, we would be able to have conversations with Paul Collier, one of the creators of the game. And those days, there was like a lot of two-way dialogues between us and Paul, Mark, that's his brother. And I ended up in, I think it was CM 0304. They created this game, and within a few weeks, we destroyed the game. I mean, we literally destroyed the game in a sense that you just had to download my tactic and you just go away, come back, you win the title. You didn't even have to play.
Regardless of the team you were.
My Wolverhampton team beat Real Madrid 8-0 and became a newspaper headline story as well.
Okay.
So then I sent in the details on how to break the game to Paul, right? So I gave him all the information. Said, this is how we break the game. And this is the exploits, and this is exactly what you do, and it repeats itself, right? So it doesn't matter who you pick. All you got to do is set it up like that, and you win, and you will win every single game. So back then, there were these two tactics that were very dominant, Scramjet and Diablo. And after that, I ended up being pulled in by SI in some capacity, and I started helping out with the development of the game indirectly and directly. And then, that's how my involvement with the game grew. And I started doing content because more and more people started, they couldn't understand certain things. So I started writing, and that's how I started, with a lot of written content back in the day. Now I'm older. I don't have so much time to write. I do write my own book every year, but now I do videos more. It's easier. And most people seem to want to have that information in 6 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do videos now. Yeah. And I stream now as well. So I've got written content on the forums. I do videos on 2 channels now. I've got 2 channels on YouTube where I do the stuff now. So that's basically how I got started in content. It was more a case of helping people out, because I still remember the first video I ever did. It was the ball-winning midfielder video, because everybody seemed to get it wrong. And so I had to create this video because I was giving the same explanation every time. So I created a video without me talking, and it's still on YouTube. And that's the very first video I made for the game. Yeah.
On the ball-winning midfielder, I mean, I don't think I've made a tactic without a ball-winning midfielder, to be honest. It's probably my most treasured role on the pitch. So obviously, producing content and information through the medium of a book and a video are 2 different things. How did you find that transferring of the skill set from, obviously, rather than writing a full book, you obviously have that script, and then you have everything along with the video in terms of video editing, recording it. How did you find that initial sort of transition from one to the other?
I mean, initially it wasn't that difficult, because I come from a background where I was doing media for a while, but it's frustrating. That's what it is, because I don't really have the resources to edit my own videos, because it's rather expensive, and it's not like I'm making a lot of money from this. It's enough to pay the bills and keep the roof over our heads. But when it comes to creating the content, I found that it wasn't that difficult. But I find that written content is easier for me to do. It's faster because it just comes off, and it's easier because you see the words, right? But my video content, there's a hell of a lot of off the cuff video work that I do, where the script goes out of the window. And that's why I started specializing in 2 channels now. So one channel has got shorter form content where I actually sit down and tell myself, dude, take this seriously, write a script. And the video, the shorter guides are actually easier for people to follow now. Yeah, instead of taking 30 minutes to explain how to pass into space, which is a bit stupid.
No, I get that, and I agree with you on the off the cuff. I find I much prefer to do sort of off the cuff. I'm not good at planning, whether it's anything, whether it's a joke. I'm always off the cuff and not, doing an actual like thought out process. So I can fully appreciate that sort of thing. So obviously, you're quite prominent on YouTube in the FM community now. When did you start? When did you pick YouTube as the medium? When did you start putting out that content and sort of producing that sort of that form of information?
2016 was my first video on YouTube. But between 2000 and 2014, sorry, I think it was 2014, which was my first video. And then before that, I was just writing all the way. In fact, I had decided to quit Football Manager in 2014. Yeah, I didn't buy 15 and I didn't buy 16, right? So these are 2 Football Manager games that I refused to buy because I quit the game. I sent Paul a thank you letter for all the good times and said, dude, we shall part ways because I am now going into my cave. So I sent him this email and said, I'm off. And then a couple of my friends started chasing me down and they were like, we need help with the game. And I'm like, dude, I have retired. I don't want to do any more content. I just want to retire peacefully. And I ended up being pulled in 2016 by my friends who said, will you help us play the game? And I'm like, dude, seriously, I want to just hang out, with my kids. And they convinced me to start something on Patreon because I was planning retirement literally in real life. And I just wanted to spend time with my family. And they said, oh, well, why don't you start a Patreon channel and we'll start supporting you. And I said, look, I don't want that, right? I don't like the idea of people having to pay for stuff. Then I said, look, I'll just help you out and then I'll be off. And then it became, from one person, it became a multitude of people who said they valued my content. And that's how it just went from there. It's like I had decided to stop in 2014. If you look at my YouTube numbers, right, they were very low. And think between 2014 to about 2016, I had only 1,000 subscribers. That was how low it was. So that's when I decided I'm done. There's no way this is helping me out. And then I decided to kickstart with Patreon and making YouTube content full time. And it went from 1,000 subscribers to almost 20,000 after that. It just exploded. And since then, I've been doing this full time. Helping people out with the game as much as I can with content. And I've got a loyal bunch of supporters who want me to keep going and they appreciate the content and I appreciate them for appreciating me.
Yeah, it is always good when you have that sort of appreciation. I remember, like, from a personal point of view, I didn't stream for particularly long, and there was I think, from off my own back, I think the most I ever had was 11 or 12 people in my streams. But I was talking to one of the guys the other day who also happened to stream, and he was talking about, I used to wake up every morning because he was in the US. I'd start streaming at 2 p.m. in the UK, and he said, I used to wake up every morning. The first thing I'd do is I'd put your stream on, like, religiously, because I used to stream 4 days on, 4 days off. That was what my work commitments were like then. And yeah, like, when you realize that impact you have, it's hard to stay away.
Yeah.
And because it's weird to think that what you're doing is actually impacting someone else, and I can only imagine the sort of level of impact that would have been having on you when you have a much higher sort of follower count. But what was it that made you want to step away from FM? Was it just you were bored of the game, or were you just thinking, I'm sort of done with working now, I just want to take my time and enjoy myself a bit more?
Okay. Well, to be very, very honest with you, I wasn't happy with the direction of the game at one point, right? So I wasn't excited about where we were going. There were bugs in the game that were not being addressed. They were still in the game. And I felt that I just want to step away. So that was the idea here. And then I started receiving messages from people. Right. There was this very heartfelt message that somebody gave me explaining how he was paraplegic and how my videos helped him through a difficult time in his life. And then another guy who was suffering from depression who said the same thing. I started getting a lot of messages from people when I started Patreon, and I cried because I was touched by how people felt about my content. At that point, when I had decided I wanted to stop, I didn't think the outreach was that influential. I mean, when you have 1,000 subscribers, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, right, there's no one out there who loves me very much. And then you receive these messages from people and I went to talk to my wife, and I posed this scenario to her. I said, honey, you're not going to like this very much. Then she goes like, what? We are going to live off my savings for the next few years. I'm going to try something out. And if I can just pay the bills, we'll keep on going. The moment I can't meet this amount of cash to pay the bills, or we have to start digging into our savings too much, the children's education starts to suffer, then I'll stop. So that was 2016. Today is 2021 and we're still going. Amen.
Good call.
I love her so much, man. I mean, where can you find a wife that tells you stay home and play Football Manager?
Nah, to be fair, I've never heard of that. I think you are the luckiest man alive.
I am. I certainly am. I mean, like, my wife, do you know who bought my first webcam for me? My wife. She goes like, you can't possibly be on YouTube without a webcam. I'm like looking, what do you know about YouTube? I mean, she doesn't even, the next thing I know, there's a webcam for my birthday. And I'm like, that was my first webcam. It's from my wife.
Would you attribute a lot of your success to her having that support for you and being sort of that influential figure in your sort of content career?
100%. I always stop my streams when I know she's coming home. So there's always this priority, and I appreciate the guys who support the channel as well, the guys who view the channel, because they know how much I put my family above everything else. And whenever it's time for me to stop and I tell them, look guys, I'm going to have to go because the kids are at the door, they all understand. I mean, I think most of the people who support me they have their families too. And it's very nice to be able to experience or even share stories about what we all go through, especially now in this world where we have COVID and we've got lockdown, and there are people that are struggling as well with the challenges that they face with COVID. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very good. It's very good that you have that sort of support structure sort of in there, because I know, when you first propose that sort of idea to someone saying, I'm gonna start gaming full time, a lot of people are going to ask if you're mad and probably try and talk you out of it. So it's refreshing to see that you still had that support.
All my friends, right, who are, because it's not like I'm 20 something right now, okay? I'm like in my 50s. All my friends who are also in their 50s turned to me and thought I'd gone mad. So they go like, you have kids who are still in school, are going to school. They're not still in school. They're about to go to school, right? You got to think about them for the next 20 years. Are you insane? And I'm going like, look, I've got to go where my heart takes me. And this is where my heart takes me. And I'm going to have to take a chance. If I don't have faith in myself, then who do I have faith in?
100%. Yeah, no, I do respect that mentality a lot, and I know that it's resonated with me in parts of my life, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would sort of resonate in as well. So that's really refreshing to hear as well. And so from that, obviously, content creation standpoint, you then obviously are streaming now. If I'm not mistaken, you stream on YouTube, don't you, rather than Twitch?
Yes, I started out streaming on Twitch, right? And then I felt like I needed to move to YouTube, because on Twitch, your content kind of goes away, even if you're a partner, after a certain amount of time. So it's gone. It's gone into the Twitch servers for the rest of their lives, and nobody gets a chance to see them. But on YouTube, at least, I've got people that are still watching my Kingstonian Diaries from 2017.
Mm.
Right. So, and so I decided, well, my fans, they love the older shows, they love the playthroughs. So I decided to stream on YouTube. So I do stream on YouTube 3 times a week, and I also stream on Twitch now because of the playoffs. So I joined the playoffs, and I went, okay, fine, we'll do a playoff draft on Twitch, and we'll stream like maybe once a week on Twitch. Yeah, I still miss. I like Twitch. Twitch is different from YouTube.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think obviously not being part of that sort of YouTube live experience, I can see where you're coming from in terms of the content being immortal in that scenario. And I guess it would be difficult to, record the Twitch streams and upload them onto YouTube as well. So it makes sense to have them all in that medium. Well, that is a good topic that you're bringing up there in terms of the FM playoffs. Obviously, you're entering the world of drafting. That's kind of our speciality here. How did that come about? Was it just you got hit up one time in like the emails or the Twitter DMs, asking if you wanted to do it, and just thought, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, that was exactly how it happened. I mean, I got hit up, man. Somebody asked me if I wanted to take part in the FM playoffs, and I went like, yes, 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 please, I do. And I ran in headfirst, headlong into the abyss of which is the FM playoffs.
Now, how did you find that experience? Because I think you've been in there a couple of times now, and I've seen you obviously taking part in San Maggio's draft. You beat Thermal last Sunday, I believe, which I was very thankful for. Maybe the Sunday before, but yeah, how have you like gone about sort of taking that step? Because for me, it's quite a different game compared to standard offline.
Well, for me, my first experience with FM playoffs was a revealing experience. It was exhilarating and it was crazy because I think I lost every single game I played. I was totally I mean, I thought I was prepared, but I made some fundamental mistakes when it comes to FM playoffs. Firstly, you never go into a playoff match with 1,000-player playlist. I found out very quickly in the first time I took part because I couldn't find my players. And then you need training to make up your mind in less than 15 seconds because I live in Singapore and the draft is hosted in the UK. So
Yeah.
there's going to be lag, right? So I remember the first FM playoffs, I had this whole lineup in my head. I was like very confident. If I can get these players in, I'll be okay. And then the second player that shows up in my squad was Joshua Kimmich, uninvited for 60 million.
No
And that
way.
immediately threw me off because I don't like players, who are slow, right?
Yeah.
And Kimmich is slow, right? Especially for a fullback, he's only 12. And that's a liability in draft mode. So I lost every single game. And I got invited to back for part 2 to redeem myself. And this time I was happier. I made it to the quarterfinals.
Mm.
And I injured myself in the process. But I had a lot of fun, man.
How-
I find FM playoffs so exhilarating, so addictive. But it's also buggy as hell.
100%. How did you injure yourself? Because I haven't heard that.
I'm sorry?
What did you do to injure yourself? I didn't hear about that.
I was because I was going. It was the last match of our group, right? In our group, so the top 3 qualify for the quarterfinals,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so I was on 6 points and Goofy George was on 7 points. The last game was me against Goofy George, the wasted possession draft mode champion, and everybody was going. There's no way he's gonna win. And well, I beat Goofy George, and I celebrated it in style. I punched my arm so hard in the air that I kind of pulled a muscle, and I was in so much pain after that. In fact, I was injured for the next 4 days. This is literally if I wanted to, and I had to play against Cam in the quarterfinals. I literally was thinking this is a scenario where that injection actually might help.
Oh man, off for the injections. Nah, it's good. I've never beat Goofy George, and there's a lot of people who haven't been Goofy George, so that is quite a decent feat. But hopefully we see you in the next season, and hopefully you win it because obviously we've got the partnership now with the playoffs. The winner of the Wasted Possession Draft will take part in the next season of theirs and vice versa. So good to have you on ours, man. Get that win, get involved.
I mean, I love the idea of getting involved because the community, the idea of a community playing a game together, having fun, getting to know each other, sharing stories, helping each other out. Now that I can sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
So winning it is the furthest thing from my mind. I mean, I want to be there. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I represent myself honorably and do well, not go out on 0 points again. Yeah, but it's the whole community, and I've enjoyed it. So if I'm welcome back the next time, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have fun, and hopefully, I don't overthink the process.
100%.
It's just but draft mode has its own issues. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not the same like playing the regular FM game. Draft mode is full of bugs. Yeah, it's loaded. I mean, I can understand why we enjoy it so much. It's addictive. But SI certainly have to improve certain aspects of draft mode to make it more accessible to the general public.
Yeah, I mean, I think the servers are literally potatoes in that regard. I think if you have more than 8 people on a server, it just doesn't work properly, which is what we've learned, which is why we try and keep it to 8 or less in basic possession.
Even 8 is a problem. I've had 8 before, and 8 does still give you divergence. I found that
you need to be
the perfect number is 7.
100%. Eight is like you're risking it. But
you're risking
there's
it.
little things like if you say me and you are playing against each other and my ping is high and your ping is low, we'll both see a different game playing. But because you've got the lower ping, your game will be what the actual outcome is, and we've seen that happen in our draft so many times. Somebody's thinking that they've won 2-0, 2-1, turns out they've lost 3-0. Little things like that happen constantly, and I would have thought with the FM Streamer Showdown being as prominent as it was sort of in the last edition of FM, maybe they'd focus on more attention on the online stuff, but
no,
it just doesn't care.
The cycle doesn't work like that. I mean, this is how the development cycle of the games happens, right? So the game gets released, they go into beta. That's when you want to be seeing all the things being fixed. Now we're in that phase of the game where nothing will be fixed. I mean, unless there's something so game breaking to the main game, right? But this is draft mode, right? So it's not the main game. I mean, look, let's just talk about the features of the main game versus draft mode. You don't have opposition instructions in draft mode. That is got to be the biggest bugbear I have, because if you are talking about a product that is Football Manager, why is it so fundamentally different between the two versions, right? I mean, that's the reason why I pause. I mean, I think Sai spotted it as well. I make changes like 5 minutes into the game, always, because I don't see the opposition instructions. Right, so I don't know what formation the other person is using until the first key highlight. You know how dangerous that is?
So, you could be 1-0 down before you know what's happening.
Exactly. So we don't have opposition instructions to tell us what his formation is, and then I have to stare at the screen so hard, and my eyes start popping out because I'm going like, okay, what formation is this Joker playing? And then the moment I think I get it right, I have to change formations because it might not be suitable. Because this is the issue with the game. The last formation that is shown on your screen, when you go and check another player's match, right, you will see a formation that he played against another party, right? You see that formation in the last game that he played. That formation is the last formation he used in the last 5 minutes of the game. It is not the formation he started with. It's the formation he ended with. So if I started with a 4-2-3-1 and ended with a 3-5-2, you see the 3-5-2. So it's irrelevant. As far as I'm concerned, I want to know how you normally play the game, not how you decide to park the bus.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so these are small little things that are annoying with the game, and it's gonna take a long time. And I think that, I mean, with me, I'm hoping that with me playing as well, I do get involved. I'm still very much involved with SI, in some respect, and yeah. I know that there are people who complain about or put in draft bugs, and they put in bug reports on draft mode. But this time I'm going to be like probably entirely focusing on draft mode. I'm hoping that things like opposition instructions, that these get addressed in the next version of the game. I mean, you can't have Miles going publicly opposition instructions are very important in the game. You have to be using opposition instructions. There you have fantasy draft mode, which doesn't even have them.
Yeah, there's a bit of a contradiction. And you know what? I didn't even notice that the formation that it's showing you is what they finished the game with. So that's an interesting thing that I didn't actually pick up on. So, I think you're good to have in the corner, man. You'll be able to rally, speak for the voiceless in that regard. But
I think
yeah,
everybody is a strong voice. It's just the more voices shouting, the better, I guess.
the more you can hear, yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. I'm hoping there are adjustments. I think, especially now when you look at the Streamer Showdown, particularly, you've got people like KFC getting involved in sponsoring, and having that, being on the front page of Twitch with 6,000 people viewing. I feel like they have to improve that product now, or it's just at a point where it's a bit embarrassing on their part, because that's the bit that's getting a lot of people involved from that content sort of
I
standpoint.
I disagree. I don't think SI will look at it that way.
Mm.
For one simple reason and one simple reason alone, 6,000 viewers represents maybe 0.001% of the entire base that plays the game.
Mm.
So SI normally have numbers that they look at to see whether something needs to be addressed. You see, like for example, I think there's only 1% of people who use opposition instructions, no, I think it's like 1 or 2% of people who actually have customized set piece routines in the game.
Yeah.
See, this is the level of information that SI have. Like, so they also know what's the percentage of people that actually play draft mode.
Mm.
So regardless of whether we're on Twitch, it's not going to happen, man. Yeah, I don't think just because we are playing the game on Twitch and I've got like maybe 6,000 people watching my game, SI is going to fix the thing. It's not happening unless you get SI themselves playing the game. That's a different story. So if you want it fixed, get SI playing it themselves in some form of the wasted possession draft.
See if Miles Jacobs is free on a Friday night.
Nah, he won't be him. You'll never get Miles. You probably get you'd have to pitch it to the development team or the match engine team. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll look into it. Maybe you could get a collab with actual, football manager. That would be quite interesting. But another thing that I wanted to draw on upon the draft sort of world, I think, particularly with us, the FM playoffs and the FM Super League starting this sort of collaboration, it didn't seem that long ago that I was watching the likes of, I don't know, Dr. Benji, being one particular, that was talking about there just isn't enough collaboration in the space. No one is working with each other. Everyone seems to be quite independent when it comes to, making content for the majority of the sort of bigger creators in the space. And, you fast forward it to today, and not only are people collaborating in these drafts, we've got the people who are collaborating with each other and creating this sort of streamlined universe in that regard. And someone who's been in this space for the amount of time that you have, what sort of implications do you think that mean from the game? And what do you think about sort of the general collaboration of people within the space as a whole?
I think it's stepped up. That's what I think. I think the collaboration's improved. I love what Benji did with the FM Streamer Showdown and getting the community together. Zealand and the rest of the boys, they went out there, they kick-started the FM Streamer Showdown, and you can see the knock-on effect it's had on other events. And let's not forget, there were always draft mode competitions, even streaming before the Streamer Showdown. We have to remember that, right? So it was the FM Streamer Showdown that actually pulled in the numbers, in the sense that because these guys have got their own large viewer bases.
Yeah.
So they got together, and that whole competition just pushed itself onto the front pages, and people start talking about it. And that's what it's done for the community in general. It's just made people realize that you have now got content creators that are actively collaborating. And that's a very, very positive thing for the whole community. And I'm excited to be in the community at this time. Yeah.
Can we, have you ever had the opportunity to work with any of these guys? Obviously.
Yeah, I have.
Have you ever?
With Fox in the Box. Yeah. I sounded him out once to to work on videos with me, and I've done it with other people as well. Um, I'm always looking for opportunities to collaborate, but I think it's easier for the guys in the UK to collaborate with each other, and
Yeah.
than it is for a guy from Singapore to collaborate with the guys in the UK. Because as you can probably tell, it's what 3 a.m. for you right now, right?
Oh, for 10 to 4 right now. It's
10 to
it's
4.
getting late.
Yeah. Yeah, you see what I mean? This is the situation that we run into all the time. Um, it's collaboration is just there's so much teamwork involved, there's so much planning involved, and
Yeah.
there's all these resources that come together. Um, and it's always going to be a challenge. And I'm always open to collaborations. I've said this to many people many times. If you want to collaborate on something, yeah, sound me out. And I'm definitely in the if I can do it, I definitely will do it. If I was about to start a collaboration with a couple of guys just before my mom passed away, right? So my mom passed away about 2 months ago, and I was planning a major collaboration with two content creators and SI. So there was this whole project that I had lined up. And then my mom passed away, and I lost my mood for it suddenly because this collaboration would have taken quite a lot of hours from me. And I still haven't revisited that yet. I might do it when FM22 comes around the corner.
No, I'm sorry to hear that, and I think maybe that brings us on to another sort of topic that we've covered quite a lot. I say quite a lot. This is the third episode. In the previous two episodes, were quite prominent parts of that sort of content creation generally, and it's the sort of mental aspect that comes with it. And I've seen, particularly from I started streaming maybe 10 months ago was when I first started, and there's a lot of guys who were new or coming around in that scene who then have just sort of stopped because of the mental health implications. And the talking to Second Yellow Card about it in the first podcast, the sort of struggles that he took obviously quite a long break because of it, and between I think 2014 and 2016 maybe, or might be 2016 and 2018, I could be getting it mixed around. And obviously Liam being a mental health nurse, obviously, it came up in there. I was just curious about how someone like you deals with that when it is your sort of day to day, source of income, and you have a following for which in the community is quite big. When those sort of mental, dilemmas, I guess, arrive, how do you see best to deal with them? Because particularly when you're streaming, because if you're not in the best mood, you still have to put on a show, make entertaining content for an audience. And it's not like a video where you can take breaks and you can edit it and you can sort of mask any issues that are ongoing. How do you work around that, and what sort of measures do you take in order to persevere and keep going?
Yeah, this is a very good question because I think mental health of people generally for anyone, it's a serious topic. And I have gone through my own periods of time where the headspace wasn't in the correct spot, and it's tough. I mean, if you're a content creator, you're starting out, negative comments on the comments channel can also set you off. They can cause depression. You put in all those hours doing a video and somebody just gives you some kind of snide remark that hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
Or you could have put in all that effort into a stream. Right? You prepare for a stream, and people don't seem to understand the hours that go into that. And then you prepare for the stream, you start the stream, and there's no one there, for example, and you hope and you delay and you wait for more people to come before you decide, okay, I'm gonna do my big, what I prepared for. Maybe I was gonna talk about this player and I've got all these slides and videos all done for him, and you've got 15 people showing up and you go like, okay, I was hoping for more because I prepped this and I tweeted it and there's no one here, and that affects you as well. So, and then you have days when you're looking at the numbers and you want to see yourself grow and it doesn't happen. You try everything in your power. You can't, and it doesn't grow. And you get stories about how you should be. You should outsource some of the work to other people. And when you want to outsource it to other people, people come in and they go, okay, I will do it for you. I'll charge you X amount of dollars to cut your video, and you go like, dude, that's like taking up all the money that I have. What do you? And then you go like, okay, maybe I should invest some money into my show, and then the financial problems start happening. So yeah, I had to deal with all of that, right? And then on top of that, you get your own personal life as well, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your streaming stuff that you wrestle with every day, and then you've got your personal issues that come, like in my case, my mom passed away, and I couldn't stream for like I was in quarantine for 2 weeks either side because I had to travel back. I was in Malaysia, I had to travel back to Singapore, so I spent a total of 4 weeks in quarantine, and no content came out. So you can imagine yourself sitting in a hotel room feeling depressed, and it goes from bad to worse. So how to handle such a thing is it's not easy, right? I am blessed because I have good friends, right, in the community as well. I've got some very, very dear friends in the community, and my Discord is a very protected place because of that. Which is one of the reasons why people say why I don't open Discord up. I go like, no, Discord has been like this since 2016. It wasn't even my idea. It was the idea of the people who support the channel. They wanted it to be a closed environment, and we've got our own support groups. This is the thing that's carried me through. Is the community that has rallied around me and kept me going. Even when I wasn't in my right headspace, it is the people that are there. So you've got to be aware of there might be 10 voices out there that are negative, and there will be one quiet voice or one soft voice that is very positive. So you got to learn how to tune out everything else and just pay attention to those positive things that are happening in your life. Because when you are going through a tough time, it's very easy to look at all the negative things and then let them combine into something that's so big it seems insurmountable. So what I've learned is when shit hits the fan, stop looking at the fan. All right, start looking at the switch. Just turn off the fan, okay? Because all you got to do is find something positive in your life and just cling on to it, and that's what I've done. So I've got my family, I've got my wife and my kids, I've got my friends, and I've got people in the community. I've got like my moderators as well who are always have my back, right? So you're always gonna find a negative person out there. You're always gonna find you can't run away from the shit in the shit storm that is your life, right? Yeah. Okay. You're always going to find something bad in this world, and it's up to you whether you want to stand there and, feel the pain. So yeah, just learn how to find something. I know it's easy to say, but difficult to do.
Yeah.
Right. It is easy to say all this shit, right? But I've been through this before. It's got to do with you. First, you got to find somebody in your life that is positive. A person that believes in you, and that person is going to be your best friend through that kind of a shitstorm. So the first thing I'm going to advise people to do, if you want to go into this life of a streamer, right, go out there, make sure you keep in touch with those people who are the reason why you're still streaming. That's it.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Obviously, it's something that clearly that's been prevalent at least a few times by the sounds of it during your journey, and I think it's very applicable to not just streamers but anything that obviously comes up in a lifetime that maybe isn't what you sort of planned or not how you envisaged it. But yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I think we'll move it on to yourself. You've been in the community for a long time now. You've been putting out your content and really giving a great deal of sort of knowledge and information in there, and obviously you're doing the streams now. Where do you envisage the sort of Busternet channel going into sort of the near future? Is there anything that you've got really planned in the pipeline? Is there any sort of ways that you think you'd want to transition and move into in that football sort of manager sphere? What is next for you?
I have plans but I have to wait for COVID to be over. So I'm gonna have to. I've got really long term plans, right? So I was gonna do mini documentaries centered around football. That's my plan for the YouTube channel, and I have plans on doing stories related to football because back in the day I have done stories on football before. Back when I have a full time editor and a full time sound man and a full time cameraman. I once ended up in Sri Lanka. To do a story in war-torn Sri Lanka where we had two factions fighting, and then in between the two factions fighting, there was this open field, right? Not literally, I mean, like there's distances covering the two factions, right? And we had these children in the field playing football, barefooted. So I actually took a flak jacket and I went out there to do a story on these children playing football while a war was going on, and about the hopes and the dreams of these kids. And I want to do stories like that again. So that's my plan. And right now I live with my wife in Sarawak, which is in Malaysia, which is the land of headhunters and cannibals. So they've got loads of little stories about headhunters and cannibals and football. So I want to do stories centered around that. So that's where I'm going to be taking the channel. And then there's other content that I plan to do. I also want to start helping people out with their content as well. And I'm now doing that slowly with other content creators and helping them with the content that they do on guides and stuff, because and training other people, helping people out as far as understanding the match engine is concerned, so that their understanding of the match engine improves. And then when they do the videos that they are doing, their videos also have the quality, and putting them in touch with the right people so that they can have their questions answered. So that's the plan going forward in the long run. Yeah. Expanding the channel with more content creators. Yeah.
No, that sounds interesting, particularly on that sort of when you're talking about football and cannibals and that sort of thing. That wasn't what I was expecting the answer to be, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of outlandish, sort of very niche content in that regard, but I think it's definitely something interesting and something that I haven't seen anyone else sort of do before, to be honest. So it sounds quite exciting for the future of that. But
because everything can't be about Football Manager. I mean, to be honest with you, let's look at the game. Let's talk about the game first. Is it appealing aesthetically on a screen, those dots running on the screen, or would you rather watch FIFA dots running on the screen? Let's be realistic. It's not, the game isn't aesthetically exciting. I mean, if I was a guy watching it for the first time, would I be excited by these dots running on the screen? You gotta find. I mean, that's why Zidan's channel is so explosive on YouTube. Do you see he gets an editor, he brings him in, they snazz up the content, they make it appealing, he puts humor into the shows, and it sells. So people watch that. That's why they watch it. If his content was like mine, for example, nobody's gonna watch it. So you've got to snazz it up a lot.
Yeah, and I guess you need that creative vision in order to snazz it. I guess, so is that what you envisage yourself? Do you think you'd fully sort of break away from that Football Manager sphere at some point, or do you think you'd incorporate that sort of docu-series or documentaries in, whilst also doing the live streams and having that sort of field as well?
Exactly. I'm like, okay, let's just put it into perspective, right? Okay, let's say you're doing a lower league save in some remote club in the UK. I don't know what remote clubs you might have. Maybe Kingstonian somewhere, somewhere outside of Manchester. There are stories in Manchester as well that can be integrated into your live stream. There are people out there who live in Manchester that could be part of your show. So why settle on something as simple as a Football Manager game when you can make it even bigger than that? So then if you can make Football Manager part of a bigger story, then it becomes more interesting. How Football Manager ruined my life. I mean, we've got so many books about how that are bestsellers, but do they feature the game in a lot of detail? No, they don't. The whole story and the game is just a part of that story. So yeah, there's gonna be more. The game itself, I mean, if I was a producer and you came to me and told me, I've got this idea behind a Football Manager show, and we're going to show this guy playing the game, and you think sponsors are going to come in and jump at your little show 24/7? They're not.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. The first up, any person who watches this game is going to go like, hell, man, the graphics are terrible. What's wrong with this game? That's the reality of it, the show. I mean, if you go to Razer tomorrow and you show them, you pitch them this product and you pitch yourself as a content creator, they're not going to buy it. They're going to have to buy a personality. They're going to have to buy the content. And the content has to be a lot better than what we're putting out. And that's coming. I mean, I'm very critical of my own work. I think my work is shite. All right, the quality of my work is shite. It's terrible. The only thing that I have going for me is knowledge. That's about it. Yeah, you can only package my knowledge in so many ways, man.
No, I disagree. I think there's a lot to you. I think you're quite an entertaining guy, and obviously the knowledge obviously is a key factor in that. But
Me entertaining, I think, someone just asked me to do ASMR videos because I have this voice. I don't understand where that's coming from.
no, no, that's the. I mean, if you can sell it, then by all means.
I don't think I'm going to be selling ASMR videos anytime soon. People are just going to start complaining. I'll be taken off YouTube in a hurry. Oh my God, that guy is doing ASMR videos. He doesn't have any. No.
Them ASMR Twitch streamers do get a lot of views, so maybe in a hot tub doing some ASMR.
Wait till my wife gets a load of me.
100%. But no, I think there are ways you can make the game exciting. Like I think the thing that sort of propels FIFA is Ultimate Team. Do you not think that Football Manager could integrate something like that? Because I think it'd be hard.
I think what will make the game more exciting is this. Okay, let's put this out there because I don't mind. I mean, this was an idea I was throwing in my head for a while. Okay, all right. What's the problem with the FM draft mode right now? Network latency, right? Okay. So that's got to do with the fact that you might be running a computer in your house connected to all the other computers, right? So all the connections coming to your computer, there's going to be some issues anyway. Let's just cut down to the chase. There's going to be issues. So why doesn't somebody take the game, go to Amazon Cloud, Amazon Web Service, okay? You can definitely host your whole Steam game on the Amazon servers, right? Okay, and then you run the competition from there. Now, that means that the person has to buy another Steam license. It's possible to do that way, right? So you host the game on the Steam server. You host your Amazon game on, you host your Football Manager game on the Amazon servers, which is possible because I got friends of mine who are doing that right now. And then everybody connects to the server. Yep. So then you can talk about the game, everyone can connect, and then you won't have oh my God, you're in Singapore, you're in London. It might be a better experience. We don't know until somebody tries it out. And I'm going to be trying it out with a few friends in a couple of weeks' time to see whether it's technically feasible. But having said that, there's still a lot to be done about the game, right? I mean, we've got issues with the game, and we can't take that step until SI thinks it's a product. Because if you look at it, FM draft mode is very entertaining.
Yeah.
It is addictive once you start playing it.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? If you're watching it, you're not going to be addicted. I mean, who the hell sits down and goes like, oh, it's a 3-hour draft. Let's get excited about these guys choosing this player, choosing that player until the person does it himself.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself that if SI can improve the game itself, because there are so many issues at the moment. So it's not an esport. There will never be an esport. There is no way FM Football Manager is an esport, right? If it's an esport, I'm the Pope that smokes dope. Okay? It's not happening. Okay? It is not an esport, right? There's no way this game is an esport. So what we need to do is, first up, we have to address the issues with the game first. Okay, the bugs in the draft mode, right? We've got bugs in draft mode, 100%. It happens all the time. We've got 8-player limits on leagues. That has to be addressed. We've got divergences that are happening left, right, and center because people's latencies are different. We've got no opposition instructions in the game. We have a problem when we go to the tactics page while the match is, you can't even pause. You see, you always have to pause the game.
Yeah.
You always have to pause the game to make changes, even though the game allows you to make changes without pausing it. But the problem is when you do the pause of the game, right, the changes don't stick. And then you have to do a little ballerina dance just to get back to the main match again. And sometimes you have to go to the lobby just to go back to the main page. I mean, look, The list of bugs that this game has in draft mode are endless. But you can still make it entertaining, right? But they have to address all those things first, and then you will find more and more people playing. Because my experience with draft mode right now, I've got loads of friends right now who are now addicted to draft mode when they weren't before. So imagine, hey, you got thousands of people watching it as well. So yeah, you can definitely have a collaborative experience right now in draft mode. 100%. I think so. I think this is where the direction of the game is going to go.
Yeah.
For the community. And the Streamer Showdown has successfully shown that it can work with guys like Zealand and Benji. They did a fantastic job on the FM Streamer Showdown. I mean, no one's going to deny that. And they have a lot to do with the success that is coming to the FM playoffs, the FM playoffs, the wasted possession draft, and there's one more. I mean, I can't think of. There's so many of them. Super League, and there's more as well. I just got invited to another draft mode competition, and I had to say no. So there's so many. Yeah.
Now they are popping in and around, and I think it obviously is really good for the game, but obviously then there needs to be those improvements because it is fun and addicting now. I imagine if the game mode was good, how much better it would be in terms of not having those sort of issues. It's definitely got potential, but do you not think we could see something Ultimate Team-esque in Football Manager, having that sort of massive online competition, creating that buzz? Because that's why FIFA made it so big in particularly the content creation space, is because of things like Ultimate Team.
Yeah, but the thing is also the other issue with draft mode is this, right? When for streamers themselves, it's not exactly a perfect scenario for them. Okay. The reason why FIFA can be successful is because when two players are playing each other, you don't see the hacks, you don't see the tricks, because the guys can keep it off screen. Right? Because you're using a controller, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see tactical little adjustments that they're making. Okay, but in FM, you do. So if you are watching, this guy's been winning 7 to 10 games, and you go like, how the hell is he doing it? Then you watch his stream, you see the tactical changes he makes, you see the PIs that he's using, right? Hey, come on, and that's gonna happen anyway. So this is the reason why draft mode can never be an esport. So for draft mode to ever become an esport, then there's more needs to be done so that you can, like, look at Sai when he's doing his draft mode, he's streaming it. Have you noticed that Sai doesn't show his tactics page?
He has the gifts. We've had that. We've had in some drafts that we've done in the past where you're looking and somebody's trying to filter information, saying, "Oh, I think he's playing this tactic. Looks like this play style," and we have to step in and be like, "Don't do that. That just completely ruins the experience for everybody." And I think that's always going to be an issue, especially when you've got these, streamers playing against each other, streaming at the same time. So yeah, the Sai was on that pretty early on.
And then you've got other contentious issues. Let's just call them contentious issues, right? Okay, for example, when you got people that might go, "Oh no, you're using this exploit." They define exploits, right? They go like, using this exploit, that exploit. You're not even sure if it's an exploit, but just because somebody's been scoring goals from every single near post corner routine, it becomes an exploit. Or somebody's been scoring goals from a long throw is an exploit. And then we've got the other one is downloaded tactics. Yeah. So you've been using downloaded.
That was a bad one.
Yeah. So like, I think I remember I was using a 4-4-2-4 in one draft mode match, and people were going me, "Why are you downloading Naps tactics?" I'm going like, dude, I haven't even seen Naps tactics. Why? Just because I use a 4-2-4 formation is equal to a Nap tactic? Come kiss my pink ass.
Honestly, the same. I remember I had a 44 tactic, which had a target man in there, and I'd been using it since FM20. FM21 rolls around, we start doing the drafts. Stick Piano's got a 4-2-4 tactic, but he's using inverted wingers. I used one inside forward and one winger, and he used a false 9 where I used a target man, and I do a draft with that tactic, and everyone's like, why have you just copied Stick Piano's tactic for? I built my tactic before he was using that tactic, but because he'd used it there first, I was stealing it, and it was just it was a mess.
Because you're gonna have this situation where
Mm.
people watch another stream and they see somebody using a tactic. Like I have, okay, I'll be very honest with you. All my tactics haven't really changed since FM16.
Mm.
I've been using the same tactics since FM16, and like I've got the Red Faro system, for example. I've been using since FM16, and I still use it to this day. But I would hate it if somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, um, you've downloaded this tactic from somebody else because it's seen it on the stream." It really hurts because it's going to be a problem. But the thing is this: we also have streamers who don't create their own tactics.
Yeah.
We have. You might see somebody like I've taken part in the draft mode match once before. Or I remember this. I had a YouTube like little event on YouTube, and I said, we're gonna do a simulation. Want to see which of your tactics can carry your nation to the final of the World Cup.
Mm.
And we had all these guys creating their own tactics and submitting it. So we ran the simulation. The simulations winner wasn't a tactic that was originally created by somebody. It was a tactic downloaded from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when we checked it, and we were like, dude, why do you have to do this? I mean, we just asked you to make your own, take some ownership, right? Yeah, but there's always going to be issues like this, which is the reason why, sometimes draft mode can be fun and, as long as people take in the spirit that it's meant to be fun, have fun. Don't be offended if somebody downloads a tactic from somewhere else, or if you lose by 6-0 in your opening game or whatever, and don't throw a fit. Have fun at the end of the day. Life is short.
100%, and we've seen obviously in the drafts we've had in the past where someone's performing well and you see their tactic and it's that 4-1-2-1-2 that Zealand did with the 2 advanced forwards, deep lying playmaker at CDM, the 2 wingers on the side, and it's like that tactic is the most prominent tactic now in FM21.
Which tactic is that?
I think it was Zealand's gold machine tactic. That was 2 advanced forwards. I think it was a shadow striker or an attacking midfielder, deep lying playmaker at CDM, and 2 wingers, and it was just guaranteed goals sort of thing.
Okay,
and there was an influx of that in. We had a lot of people doing the strikerless tactics before the winter update came out, where the ones that were all over sort of FM Scout on the download, and you're looking at that sort of thing, and it's like, come on, man, just make your own. It's not that big of a deal, getting this sort of win and that. And I guess it is hard to stamp that out, but it's also hard to say you're not allowed to use that tactic because they might have made that tactic. Might just
no, at the end of the day, similar. That's the thing, right? Because at the end of the day, you gotta enjoy it for what it's meant to be. I mean, like, the game doesn't have a condition there's no condition in the game that says you can't restart the save, for example, right? You can't download a tactic. There's nothing there's no rules to this game. So if you've paid, I don't know how much the game costs in different parts of the world. Say you pay $10 for this game, then you have a right to play it any way you choose. And if you want to take part in a draft mode competition, downloading one of my tactics against me, which has happened before, then enjoy yourself. I've had this happen to me in one of a draft mode match. I played against a guy and he beat me with my own tactic. So I was looking at the tactic. This tactic looks familiar. Yeah, I know. It's your money's revenge. I just got beaten by my own system. Yeah, it's your money's revenge. I used your own tactic against you. I'm like, shit, man. Thanks a lot.
No, technically you won.
No, but but the thing is, at the end of the day, you see, you can download someone's tactic, right?
Yeah.
But you still need to find the players for it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, in draft mode, right? I've noticed the best players are the ones that can adapt. The ones that struggle are the ones who had that one tactic, and that was it. They go like, what will I do? What do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do. Because now you've got another player who's going, I've started the match with a 4-4-2, but I see he's not using a DM. All right, we'll go 4-2-3-1 and suffocate his defense. And then the guy can't come out and play anymore. Right? So, it's the guys who adapt. And I've noticed that in the FM draft playoffs as well. The guys who actually are better at adapting are the ones that do well, or the ones who got all 11 perfect players in their team for that tactic that they are planning to use. Yeah.
Nah, it's good. I always take the tactic of trying to get versatile players that can fit into two or three different tactics that I can throw out. So I'll try and have players that can play in that 4-2-4 system. But if I want to
Hmm.
play I don't know,
What's your
4-3-3,
favorite? What's your favorite
my
formations?
favorite tactic I've ever had is the 4-2-4 because
Mm-hmm.
I would get my target man this
Mm-hmm.
year, Paul Onuachu, 6'7", and he'd just absolutely dominate. He'd be knocking it into the striker who preferably's got 16, 17 pace. Don't really care about anything else. Smacking it
Just like
in
me.
off the
You-
corners, just quality.
Okay, so you play a 4-2-4. What other formations would you? I mean, okay, okay. Now I'm interviewing you. Okay,
Got them, got them.
you've got this draft mode match coming up. What is your plan? What is your tactical system that you're going to be using?
I start on the 4-2-4. Keep that in there. And play that on a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Just tall players all around.
Mm-hmm.
Make the use out of the set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on the defensive, I have this sort of formation where it's a five at the back formation. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like a crossbow,
Mm-hmm.
um, with an advanced forward and a shadow striker who can cross. Because the
Mm-hmm.
shadow striker tends to just run wherever he wants. ANS Hagji or Emibu Endia, absolutely great for it because they'll run to the side, low early cross into the advanced forward, takes it, goal in there. I do quite like that tactic. And then I've also got just a normal 4-3-3 with an attacking midfielder, which before the podcast started was the one that is really, really good offline. Like, unbeaten seasons
Mm-hmm.
with the Roma in the second season that I'm with them in Serie A and with Lille in the French league. But I take that to a draft and it just doesn't work for me at all. Which is it's
that
quite
that
it's
that that can happen. I think the most underutilized formation for me, I think the ones that most people avoid is the 4-3-3 DM because somehow or another it doesn't seem to do nearly as well in draft modes because the moment it meets things like the 4-2-4, it struggles.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally I have a similar setup as well. I have a 4-2-4, and the reason why I asked you this question was because I was softly laughing to myself. I have a target. I'm looking at my 4-2-4 as we talk.
Yeah.
It's got a target man and an advanced forward.
That's
And
solid.
it can also morph into an F9 with an advanced forward. So I love my 4-2-4. But I have a 4-2-4 that can play as a 4-4-2
Mm.
and a 4-2-4 that can be morphed easily into a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and then if you can play a 4-2-3-1, you can definitely play a 4-3-3, right?
Yeah.
Because then you have to just drop that AMC into another position. So yeah, when I go into draft modes, it's more like watching what the other party is playing and then taking a calculated gamble that your system can put in, because that's draft mode. It's more like you can't let the other person play.
No, exactly. You have to be reactive in draft mode. If you're doing things on the front foot, if you're against someone who's obviously good at what they're doing, then they'll just counter it straight away. I think you need to constantly be countering.
But the thing about my last game was against Katrina, right? I was so impressed with Katrina, right?
She's good.
She's new to streaming, and she was taking part in this draft mode competition. So I had just beaten McKinn's, right? So and I lost to Limo, and I think it was my next match was against Katrina, and I started the game and I was flabbergasted because this is the first time I've seen anyone on a draft mode play with a 5 at the back at the start of a game.
Mm.
She had 5 at the back, flat 5, right? And she had like 3 midfielders, and she had 2 midfielders,
Mm.
2 wide AMs. So you got one winger, and a lone striker. So it played with a deep 5 at the back. So she was sitting back, and this was the first time I played against anybody who sat back,
Mm.
and it became very annoying because the more I attacked her, the more I left myself open, and she scored goals on the counter, and it became a downhill experience for me from there for me. So it's very interesting because there are so many different play styles. So like that's the reason why I was asking you, and you said you go on the front foot, right?
Yeah.
So I also go on the front foot, and then we have Katrina who sits back and lets us play on the front foot, and then scores the goal and smiles after that. So
Yeah.
this is the thing I like about draft mode. If you find the right players, it's a case of you know, man, I was impressed, man, with her. That's all I can
She's
say.
good.
I was slapped
She
sideways so many times.
she was in our season 2 of wasted possession drafts, and if it wasn't for the fact that she started having a few drinks towards the end, I think she would have been the
Hmm.
first person to win every single game, because we have our competition runs. We have 4 groups of 4 that play 1 week after each other. Top
Hmm.
2 from that qualify for the finals, which is played 2 weeks after the last 4 play. So it's kind of like the
Hmm.
Champions League in that regard. So everyone plays each other twice. You play 6 games and then you make the finals if you're in the top 2. She was the closest person to winning all 6 games that I've seen that we'd had for a while. No one's won all of them yet. She lost the last game, but she didn't care at that point. She'd already qualified. But
I have to
like,
take part in the wasted possession draft, man. Sounds
man,
like fun.
you're welcome. Obviously, the finals on well today technically for me being 4:30 in the morning, but yeah, like season 4 will probably be out around about August time. I'm sure I'll be able to get an invite your way. Um,
Um,
but yeah, because
yeah, I
obviously
will.
we will. I mean, there's going to be 4 weeks and then the final, so you just need to be free for the finals and one of the 4 weeks, and it's doable.
I first have to convince my wife. That's the tricky bit because it does take. It all depends on it. This is one of the reasons why collaborations with me is so difficult because of the hours. It depends on the timing. There's one of the reasons why it was easy for me to say yes to the FM playoffs because it happens at 7 p.m. for me,
Mm.
which is okay. Right. There was another FM playoff. There was another draft mode competition that I was invited to, and they start at 4 a.m. for me. And I went like, guys, I can't do 4 a.m. Like, seriously, I probably fall asleep in the draft itself.
Nah. Well, we tend to start around 7 p.m. UK time, which will probably be quite late for you actually, because you're 7 hours ahead.
4 a.m. in the morning.
And then they'll finish at 10:30. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
have
it'll
to
be
see.
tough. It'll have to be. It'll be. Which days is it anyway? I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about this after the show. This sounds like
Yeah, no,
it's
well,
now going to the podcast itself.
nah, no, it's fine, man. We're talking about anything. It's we run on a Friday. We run on a Friday.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that'll change going forward, to be honest, with lockdown not being a thing anymore. But I think it'll probably still be held on Fridays.
Yeah, we'll manage. I think I can. I can. I'll have to convince my wife with a bribe or two, and the kids with a bribe or two. But I think it's doable. I'll find some way to do this
Nah, where there's a will, there is
because
a
it's
way.
addictive. It's so addictive. My goodness, and I had so much fun the last time. So I'm looking forward to it.
100%. And it's like there's so many people who get involved and stuff, and the people that I've spoke to, made connections and relationships with off the back of it, being part of the team that obviously sets it up and is on the commentary and is communicating. Like there's at least 30, 40 people that I've talked to now that I would not have spoke to if it wasn't for these drafts. I don't know when we officially really started, from like February, January time was when we first started doing them. So now it's really good to get involved in, especially from
Mhm.
getting familiar with the community. The
Of
community is so
course,
tight knit.
the community is growing, and this is helping.
Yeah, and I feel like this is it now. I feel like there's some people coming up right now that are really gonna help propel the football manager content going into the future. In terms
Hmm.
of if obviously the draft modes improve and there's more people consuming football manager, gaming content. If if it carries on the way it's going, you've got people up and coming. Speaking from people who've been winning in the wasted possession space, like McKinns, Sai Maggio, Goofy Jaw, to name just 3 off the top of my head. These guys who are becoming prominent in the community. As soon as that snap happens and it just trajects, if and when that happens, when SI decide to sort of fix what the bugs that we've got, then I think it could be very exciting to see where this community could be in a couple months' time, couple
Yeah,
of years' time.
exactly. I can't wait. I definitely can't wait.
Nah, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I mean, I'm all out of questions, sort of thing. We've gone down the list. I don't know if there's anything that you particularly want to cover or have any thoughts on.
I think we've gone down a rabbit hole, and
Oh yeah.
we've spent quite a fair bit of time in that rabbit hole. So I'm fine. Um, I think I've enjoyed. what's happened in the community. The community has grown a lot, and I think the fact that everybody keeps like mental health at the forefront. I hope they keep doing that, and we support each other as we continue this journey, and not ignore the fact that occasionally someone out there might need a helping hand, and we should try our best to help them out. Yeah.
100%. There's some really good resources in FM, and again, with the podcast sponsor Evolving Mindset, which is some of the Limo is a director in his sort of company, and helping with mental health. I think there's things like that in the community that are just really good. I think that sort of togetherness and tightness is something that just isn't really present in a lot of other communities. And
it is true.
I think it's down to the game. There's not many games where the person who creates the content and the person who consumes the content have that much discussion, because of the way FM is. 40% of the time you're streaming, you're going to be just clicking between games. So you need to fill that time up and have that dialogue. So it is really good in that regard. But yeah, I won't take up too much more of your time. We've gone on for a little bit. Again, thank you very much for coming on, making the appearance. Really appreciate it. All your links and stuff will be in the description below. So yeah, man, I think much appreciate coming on, Daljit. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on, Ali. I completely enjoyed myself, and I hope you did too.
Oh, I love doing this stuff. I'm quite a talkative guy, so this really does suit me quite well. But yeah, thank you guys again for watching, and again, special thank you to Busternet for making the appearance on. And yeah, hopefully by the time this comes out, season 3 will be finished for the Weighted Possession drafts. Roll on season 4, we might even see this guy in there. Who knows if he gets permission to come in first. But yeah, much appreciated again, and thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you later.
Okay, you take care and have a good day. Bye bye.